Have a good show.
And good evening from New York. Welcome to the Ingraham Angle. Explosive and exclusive new information will put further pressure on Special Prosecutor Bob Mueller to resign. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Last night, we brought you a disturbing and revealing report about FBI investigator Peter Strzok, who was relieved of his duties in the Mueller office after it was revealed that he texted anti-Trump messages during the 2016 presidential debates. Previously, Strzok had been a top investigator on the Hillary Clinton email probe and was responsible for watering down the language then FBI Director Comey used to describe Mrs. Clinton's handling of classified information on her private email server. Isn't that neat? The original language called her grossly negligent, which, by the way, can be a criminal violation of the applicable statute. But it was changed by Strzok to merely extremely careless. Once again, Hillary ends up skating for conduct that would have put any of us behind bars. You see, Strzok was kind of a Forrest Gump of the FBI, but without any of the endearing qualities. Why do I say that? He was present during Hillary's one and only interview with the FBI. He was an agent who interviewed Hillary's longtime aides, Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills. And then he helped grill former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn on January 24th. So I have a question. What the heck was Strzok's magic touch? Why, of all of the hundreds of lawyers in the FBI, was he always so lucky to get these plum assignments? Well, I think we all know why. And as a weird aside to this whole fiasco, if you go to Strzok's Wikipedia page, it reads that the website is considering his whole page for deletion. That's a bit odd, don't you think? As far as the media go, well, they spent the day either ignoring or downplaying Strzok's conflict of interest.
Mr. Strzok, this FBI agent in charge, it doesn't change anything. The one that has been removed from the investigation, it doesn't change anything.
The notion that FBI agents or people who work on behalf of the government aren't supposed to have any political feelings or any political biases, that's a little bit of an overstatement, right? They aren't.
There is politicization here, but also this is the president continuing to go after American law enforcement.
Okay, I have a question. Will the media be able to downplay all of Mueller's other tainted investigators? The conflicts in the Mueller shop don't stop with Strzok. According to documents obtained by Judicial Watch, former head of DOJ's Criminal Fraud Division, Andrew Weissman, emailed Acting Attorney General Sally Yates praising her for refusing to enforce Trump's travel ban in court. On January 30th, shortly after Trump fired her, Weissman wrote, "I'm so proud and in awe. Thank you so much. All of my deepest respects, Andrew Weissman." Oh, isn't that sweet? So naturally, when the time came to choose his deputy, Special Counsel Mueller chose Weissman, who was also his former partner at the law firm Wilmer Cutler. Think about it. Weissman chosen to be the #2 guy on an investigation that could lead to the impeachment of the President of the United States, given those statements, when he was on the record celebrating Yates. Remember, she was an instant hero of the left because she refused to enforce that same president's lawful executive order. My friends, we are talking willful defiance of the chief executive officer of the United States. Trump is their boss. It's simple, folks. Weissman must be removed from the Mueller team because of the apparent and real conflict of interest his presence represents. And finally, our exclusive report on yet another Mueller prosecutor who's compromised, this time because of her alliances to the Obama White House. Meet Jeannie Rhee. She was hired by Mueller in early June and also a partner of Weissman and also of Mueller's old law firm, Wilmer Cutler. Previously, she was a deputy assistant AG in the Office of Legal Counsel. That's for Obama, and that meant she gave official legal advice to the Obama White House on policy. But that's not even the most interesting part of the story. We've learned exclusively from sources on Capitol Hill that just weeks before joining the special prosecutor's team, Rhee was the personal attorney of former Deputy Obama National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes and was, in fact, his point of contact with the House Intel Committee in its investigation into Russia. Now, she didn't actually appear with Rhodes at his closed-door interview last spring, but that was only because by then she was already working with Mueller. Oh, and did I forget to mention that she also represented the Clinton Foundation and donated about $9,000 to Hillary and her fellow Democrats? Once again, another member of the Mueller team has been exposed for brazen partisanship, which at the very least represents the appearance of a conflict of interest, if not an actual one. Let's face it, what we're seeing here is a pattern and practice of Mueller hiring known Clinton and Obama political insiders and boosters, supporters, to undo a presidential election. That was the election of Donald Trump. But what's the common denominator of the three amigos here? Well, they all hate Trump. But more than that, they're political adversaries. Given the gravity of the situation, given all that's at stake for America, Robert Mueller needed to assemble a team of unassailable professionals. They needed to run that investigation professionally and without any question. Instead, as we're documenting night after night, what Mueller did, he hired a pedigreed team of obvious partisans. A revolving door from working for political opponents of Trump to working on the investigation into Trump and his supposed Russian ties. What a total travesty. They should all step aside. They should all go back to their old law firm, their old buddies there, including Bob Mueller. And that's the angle. Joining us now for reaction in Raleigh, North Carolina, is Saul Weisenberg, who was the #2 attorney on the Bill Clinton Whitewater investigation, and in Washington, Democratic strategist Richard Goodstein. All right, Saul, let's start with you. I had fairly harsh words tonight after we learned more about Jeannie Rhee and her association, her past association with Ben Rhodes, a personal attorney for Rhodes, representing him in the contacts with the House Intel Committee. Obviously, Andrew Weissman, Peter Strzok. The list seems to go on and on. Every day we learn more. What's your take?
Well, I don't believe Mueller should resign. I don't think there's a case for him resigning yet, but I'm very concerned about the Strzok situation. He never should have been picked to be the FBI lead agent on that investigation because, number one, as you pointed out, there's a conflict of interest since he was the lead agent working on the Hillary email investigation. And don't forget this, he's a witness now too, Laura. There is an IG's investigation of the Hillary email server investigation, and there are congressional investigations.
Yeah, but Saul, I got to jump in. Saul, I got to jump in here. Yeah. Mueller is supposed to be, and we're going to play this montage in a moment for Richard as well. He's supposed to be this guy of unassailable character. Oh, he's the best of the best to do this investigation. We have 3 rank partisans working on this investigation: Rhee, Weissman, and Strzok. It's not that they're just Democrats. That's fine. But they were actively working for political opponents of President Trump. And apparently there's no issue with Mueller to actually reveal this to the public. We have to find it out through our reporting on Capitol Hill.
How do you know that Strzok was working for his opponents? I've got a real problem with Strzok being on the case because of conflicts of interest. I have a real problem. I just heard the stuff today about Ms. Rhee, and I'm blown away by that. And I think that's very disturbing.
Well,
and I don't
Strzok
think
was sending an email, except because Strzok was sending texts to his, I guess, mistress back during the debates, who also worked on the investigation, we understand.
That was really dumb.
Right, but Saul,
really dumb. You know, and I know.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry. Go ahead.
Now, I'm saying. Let me just say.
Go. Yeah.
Here's the problem. This is not a run-of-the-mill investigation. Richard, I want you to get on this. It's not the run-of-the-mill allegation. Don't be exasperated, Richard. You get plenty of time. I've known you forever. I never shortchange you. This has to be an unassailable team. This could not be a team of political adversaries of the president. That doesn't sit well with people, and it casts doubt on the integrity of this investigation, the appearance of a political conflict of interest. Richard, your response.
Yeah.
This is not James Carville running this investigation. Bob Mueller was picked by Reagan, Bush 1 and Bush 2 for very important federal law enforcement positions, right? Andrew Weissman took on the Genovese, Gambino, and Camino families and the Enron prosecution. This is the kind of guy we want. And incidentally, if you and people watching here think that Donald Trump did nothing wrong, this is exactly the kind of team headed by Mueller that you should want to stay there. And as far as this Jeannie Rhee, incidentally, I worked at Wilmer Cutler some time ago. I happen not to know them. I left before they were there. Look, if we're going to somehow impute to every lawyer what their client may or may not have did, look, again, Ben Rhodes could be interviewed by the House. Look, unless every lawyer, Laura, hired by Mueller worked for the Federalist Society, I doubt you'd be happy. I doubt it.
That's not what we're talking about. Saul, you can jump in here. You can jump in.
It's not different.
This is different.
Listen, one second, Saul. One second, Saul.
The Jeannie Rhee thing is fundamentally different.
Saul, listen.
Pardon?
Neil Gorsuch made contributions to the Republican National Committee, made contributions to Republican candidates. So this notion that somehow political contributions...
I don't care about
Guys, one at a time. It's not going to work. One at a time. It's not going to work.
Okay,
here's what, one at a time. This is how it would go down if the shoe were on the other foot. If we had a fact pattern involving a Democrat being investigated, like Hillary Clinton on the email server, with a Republican with these types of text messages and representations, the left would be raising holy hell about it. Laura. And I would say maybe for good reason, because Laura, you cannot have a big special prosecution, as we're seeing right now, with a gaggle of partisans who are adversaries working, whether for the Clinton Foundation, working for Ben Rhodes, working for all these different people.
Laura.
So go ahead.
He was removed immediately as soon as those texts came out.
What about Rhee? They're both working for the investigation.
Listen, you haven't made a case for Weissman. You haven't made a case for Weissman being unqualified or having a conflict of interest because of one text he wrote.
You want me to lay it out for you?
But the Rhee thing is significant. The Rhee thing is extremely significant, and Mueller should have known better. And he should have known better not to have this guy head of the investigation. But I got a message for all the Democrats.
Listen to me.
Don't filibuster. For all the Democrats,
I've got news for you,
like your other guest. Hold on.
Listen to me.
I got a message for all the Democrats.
I'm not a potted plant.
I have a message for all the Democrats.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
By 2-1, the American public thinks Donald Trump is dishonest, is reckless, and not stable. So if there happens to be somebody who works for Mueller, who shares the view that Donald Trump's not a peachy guy, guess what? He's like 2/3 of the public. And it's rich. It's rich.
I don't have a problem with that.
One second. It is rich.
I don't have a problem with that.
It is rich, Saul. Listen to me. It is rich when James Comey broke the rules to have his July 5th press conference attacking Hillary.
Which is an idiotic press conference.
By issuing the October 28th letter and did nothing to inform the American public
change the language.
about the Russians helping Trump.
I got one more point into Saul here. One more point, because we're running way over. Saul, here's the problem.
Well, that's a non-issue. The point is the Clinton people.
Guys.
Wait a second. I thought it was my turn.
Yeah, let me solve.
Go ahead. The people on the left in the media who are complaining that Mueller is being unfairly attacked should look in the mirror. Because you mentioned James Carville, he set the playbook. He said, and I quote, Ken Starr is one mistake away from having his kneecaps busted. And that was a man who was regularly invited to the White House. So I don't like all this stuff that's happening to Mueller. I don't think Mueller should resign. But they're taking the Clinton playbook.
Yeah, the war room.
And let me tell you, it's coming back to bite them.
All right, guys. There's a lot more to say on this, but unfortunately we're way over. Thank you both for joining us, Richard and Saul. Sure. And my friends, you will not believe who is about to move real immigration reform on Capitol Hill and which Republicans are gumming up the works. Stay right here.
The Ingraham Angle is brought to you by Alka-Seltzer Plus Maximum Strength Liquid Gels.
When you have a cold, stuff happens. Shut down cold symptoms fast with Maximum Strength Alka-Seltzer Plus Liquid Gels.
Tired of sore throat lozenges that only last a short time? Try new Alka-Seltzer Plus Sore Throat Relief. The melts dissolve quickly. Plus, the powerful pain reliever provides long-lasting relief for up to 6 hours. Try new Alka-Seltzer Plus.
Guess what I just got? Hello, Dad. That's a big phone. Oh, my phone.
You built the flame that warms my heart, but your lying and cheating has torn us apart. And I'm moving on.
We're on a mission to show drip coffee drinkers it's time to wake up to Keurig.
Wakey, wakey, rise and shine.
How are you?
Well, watch this. I pop that in there, press brew, that's it.
So rich.
I love it.
That's why you should be a Keurig man.
Full-bodied.
Are you sure you're describing the coffee and not me?
Sure, it's his gift, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it too. Now at Men's Warehouse, designer suits are $249, dress shirts $3 for $99, and take 60% off all sweaters. You're gonna like the way he looks.
At the end of the day, there's nothing better than a glass of wine, especially that first sip. The taste is so important, and wine just doesn't taste as good a day after it's been opened. What if you didn't actually have to open the bottle at all? With my Coravin, I never need to pull the cork. I simply insert the needle, tip, and pour. The cork reseals to preserve the rest of the bottle for months or even years. At home, relaxing with a glass of wine or entertaining friends, just insert, tip, and pour. Buy Coravin at these fine retailers.
Give a gift that brings the ones you love even closer with a DNA kit from 23andMe. And this holiday, get up to $50 off each kit at 23andme.com.
It's okay that everybody ignores me when I drive. It's fine, because I get a safe driving bonus check every 6 months. I'm accident-free. And I don't share it with Mom, right, Mom? Right.
Safe driving bonus checks only from Allstate. Switching to Allstate is worth it.
This is where you're wide awake, but it feels like a dream, where you can roam endlessly, walk on water, or under it, where life expresses itself as an endless flow of energy, where there's only one question: are you ready? Atlantis, Bahamas at heart.
Book by December 11th for the best winter rates at 1-800-ATLANTIS or AtlantisBahamas.com.
Presenting the Shark Ion Flex 2X. The freestanding, cord-free vacuum that can live anywhere because it has 2 rechargeable batteries. That means you can always be charging, even while you're cleaning, with Duo Clean, Multi-Flex, and powerful suction. So you can go and go and go again. Welcome to hassle-free runtime with Shark.
Here's another Trump win that you probably haven't heard about. Some big immigration numbers to share with you tonight, and the growing prospect of ending chain migration once and for all, thank goodness. First, look at these numbers. The most complete statistical snapshot of immigration enforcement under President Trump. Border Patrol arrests have plunged to a 45-year low, down 24% from just a year ago. And meanwhile, arrests of illegals inside the country jumped by 40% since Trump took office, and it gets better. Now, for the first time, there is a serious effort underway in the Senate to end chain migration. This comes directly on the heels of my interview last week with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Remember, I was the first one to get him to say that chain migration needs to come to an end. The president has said he's open to a DACA deal. Tom Cotton, Senator Perdue have this idea of the RAISE Act, which would have a whole bunch of things in it, including ending chain migration.
Yeah, I agree with Cotton and Perdue. I'm in favor of doing something on the DACA front, but I don't think we ought to just do that. A chain migration, doing something about the diversity lottery. There are plenty of changes to the legal immigration system that should be added to any kind of a DACA fix that we do.
Joining us now to discuss immigration legislation and a lot more, former Energy Secretary, Ambassador to the UN, Democrat Governor of New Mexico. He's a long resume. Bill Richardson. Governor Richardson, it's great to see you after all this time. Let's talk about chain migration. I know when when you were in Congress, I believe, you were in favor of chain migration, and you voted for, I think it was the Chrysler-Berman Amendment, was in favor of the chain migration system. Are you still in favor of chain migration, given how it was exponentially expanded immigration in the United States?
Well, you know, what I'm a little troubled, Laura, is that I do believe that family-based migration through existing immigration laws is good. I think there are some areas like this lottery system that needs to be reformed. I mean, I'd get rid of that. I think this situation with the young woman that was killed, I was troubled by the verdict in that case.
Kate Steinle.
But I think what we need to, I think what we need to focus on is this. Let's find a way. For instance, you know what the H-1B visas are. These are highly skilled individuals that are working in the United States that want to stay here, that were educated here.
Right, but we're not
start
talking about that. We're not talking about H-1B right now. We're talking about chain migration.
But we
could do an hour on chain that.
Well,
but this is something different. I want everyone who's watching, you got to pay attention to what we're talking about. Every legal immigrant who comes into the United States, for instance, this is just one country, from Mexico, brings on average, this is a government statistic, 6 family members. Every 2 legal immigrants, they come in, have green cards, so forth, citizens, bring in 7. Every 2, 7, Mexican 6. This has exploded the number of immigrants into the United States, which is not a merit-based system. I mean, the idea that you can bring in adult children because you came in on a H-1B is preposterous. That's not what the original idea of immigration to the United States. It was for work. It was for merit. And, you know, we don't have a burgeoning manufacturing base back yet, at least, Governor Richardson. We don't, you know, the idea that we're desperate for family-based immigration just isn't washed with anybody. It's not even a political issue, I don't think.
Well, Laura, then I don't agree with you, because I think family-based immigration.
What does that mean?
You unify the family.
Why is it? Why is it?
Basically means
Governor, why is it the responsibility?
I'm sorry, I'm talking about. You sponsor
the whole
somebody
family
in your family. It promotes family reunification.
Well, what about the American
it promotes
family?
Legacy. It integrates communities.
Whoa.
What do you mean the American family? We're all a nation of immigrants.
That's a cliche.
We're all a nation of immigrants.
Cliches don't work very well on this show.
What is merit-based? You just want engineers?
Why is
you
it
just want teachers?
Why
you
is
want
it?
family
Why is
members.
it the American worker? Why should the American worker of Latino descent, of European descent, wherever you came from, why is it their responsibility to import entire families, frankly, in a lot of these cases, it's extended families, into the United States at a time where we've had wages flatlining in the African-American community and the Latino community? Why is that an obligation of the American citizen?
Well, what does merit-based immigration mean?
That doesn't mean being an adult kid of an immigrant.
Wouldn't you rather have family members come? Irish Americans, Italian Americans. It's not just Latinos. You're just making it minorities. It's everybody. And the unit of nucleus and reunification is the family.
Nuclear. Husband, wife, and children under 18, not adult children, aunts, uncles, grandparents. That's what we're talking about. Obama was in India. Actually, he was in France, in India over the last week or so. I want to play a soundbite for you, very short, of something he said. He was talking about climate change. Let's watch.
Did not solve climate change, but it provided us with a framework in which, for the first time, almost every nation in the world agreed that this was a problem. Now, I grant you that at the moment we have a temporary absence of American leadership on the issue.
Governor, whether you're Republican or Democrat, a former president of the United States going overseas and talking about the absence of American leadership, you support that?
Listen, Laura, President Trump criticizes President Obama every day. It's been a tradition of American presidents to stay silent. Obama has been silent. He was talking overseas. I go overseas all the time. You know what they ask me, Laura? They say, why is President Trump leaving
growing
the
the
Paris
American
Agreement?
economy?
Why is he negative on the Trans-Pacific Partnership?
Because it kills
Why
American
does he want
jobs.
to pull out of NATO? Why does he want to find ways that internationally, those are the questions that come forth, Laura. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, 12 countries. He pulls out. China is now leading. NATO in the same way. Scorns the Europeans, the Germans. Makes no sense.
So you think...
So you get questions like that. I think Obama has been very restrained in his criticism.
So you actually
criticized
think...
by Democrats and
Governor,
others.
you actually think that American leadership on the world stage was at its apex during Obama for the last 9 years? We had Benghazi, we had the Middle East in flames, we got rid of Mubarak, we got rid of Gaddafi, we had the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood, the rise of ISIS, everything that happened. That was all copacetic with you? Trump is the problem?
President Obama was a good foreign policy president. He won a Nobel Prize.
Oh, and his first 5 seconds in office,
he started phasing
he should give
out
it back.
of Iraq and Afghanistan. We were respected
We're still
overseas. There. He opened the relationship with Cuba. I think he was a very good foreign policy president. And President Trump is an isolationist. He's a nationalist.
Oh, my gosh.
Internationally, I travel all the time.
Bill,
we are getting
the European elites
criticized by everybody.
Governor, the people watching Fox right now, the fact that a bunch of European elites at conferences you attend and speak to, I mean, I'm sure they're fun. I'm sure the food's good. But the fact that European elites and other elite foreign policy gurus around the world are criticizing the president. They used to do it to Ronald Reagan, for whom I used to work. They did it to him relentlessly. He was Ronnie Reagan. He was going to blow up the world. Turned out to be one of the greatest presidents of all time. I'm not saying Trump is Reagan, but the elites did it to Reagan morning, noon, and night. But I love having you on the show, and it's great to see you again, as always. And I want to score one, by the way, for the swamp drainers. The longest-serving member of Congress is finally calling it quits, brought down by a groping scandal. But a lot more going on with the culture of corruption on the Hill. We're going to expose it. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us.
If you're burdened by belly pain and constipation, and you've tried any number of laxatives, probiotics, and fiber, it could be wearing on you. Tell your doctor what you've tried and how long you've been at it. Linzess works differently from laxatives. Linzess treats adults with IBS with constipation or chronic constipation. It can help relieve your belly pain and lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements that are easier to pass. Do not give Linzess to children less than 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to less than 18. It may harm them. Don't take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side Linzess may be right for you.
I don't believe in love at first sight, but Hulu sure gives me a lot to look at. Past seasons, new seasons, only here seasons, but you can't watch everything. Ooh, Fargo. Or can you?
When you think of saving time and money, what comes to mind? Whatever it is, AARPadvantages.com can help you save both along the way. So when you get there, you can enjoy yourself all the more for less.
Wayfair, you got just what I need. It's the feeling of done and done. It's so much fun. Easy as a click, and done comes quick. It can even look crazy. That's fun and done, baby. Get a deal done. Or fancy looks fun. Just kick back, relax. With Wayfair, you're done. You know the feeling. Yeah, that's the one. It's the feeling of done and done. It's so much.
Bring home the feeling at Wayfair.com.
I love kiwis. I've always had that issue with the seeds getting under my denture. Super Polygrip Free, it creates a seal of the dentures in my mouth.
Just a few dabs is clinically proven to seal out more food particles. Try Super Polygrip Free.
This is where life expresses itself as an endless flow of energy. Are you ready? Atlantis, Bahamas at heart.
Book by December 11th for the best winter rates at 1-800-Atlantis or AtlantisBahamas.com.
Okay, so let's
Stop. Don't mess it up.
For those who know what they're really building, always unstoppable.
When you've got no plans, but with your comfy pants, grab a Marie Callender's roasted turkey and stuffing with mashed potatoes and made-from-scratch gravy. Spoiler alert, things are about to get good. Because me time calls for Marie Callender's.
My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but now I take Metamucil every day. It traps and removes the waste that weighs me down, so I feel lighter. Try Metamucil and begin to feel what lighter feels like.
Our members shop a little differently, so we reward every purchase.
Let's see what Kate sent. For you, for all of us. That's for me.
Navy Federal Credit Union, open to the armed forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families.
The longest-serving member of Congress, Democrat John Conyers of Michigan, finally threw in the towel and resigned today. But only after yet another employee, the fourth so far, accused the congressman of sexual assault. But even after the shocking accusations, Conyers is showing no sense of shame.
My legacy can't be compromised or diminished in any way by what we're going through now. This too shall pass. And I want you to know that my legacy will continue through my children.
Yes, even as he leaves in disgrace, Conyers is trying to make it a family affair, endorsing his son, John Conyers III, to run and replace him in Congress. So is that the District of Congress Conyers' personal fiefdom now, a mini dynasty without Blake and Crystal? I guess for Democrats, corruption is just another perk of office. And while we're on the trail of disgraced Democrats, remember Congressman William Jefferson? Investigators found $90,000 in very cold cash in the refrigerator of his New Orleans home. He was released just days ago, serving only 5 years of a 13-year sentence, the longest ever given to a member of Congress. And then, my favorite, there's former Florida Congresswoman Corinne Brown, convicted of stealing from a charity. That's the Christmas spirit. Brown is still unrepentant, and even as she prepares to begin serving a 5-year prison sentence next month.
Half-truths and witch hunt.
I mean, there's a lot of questions about where the money is gone.
I don't have any questions. I have no questions.
No, but the public has a lot of questions.
No. You may have a lot of questions because you haven't done any research.
Is this the end of the Democratic Party and opening for Republicans? Joining us now to discuss, here in the studio, Rich Lowry, editor of National Review and Democratic strategist, and radio talk show host Clay Kane. We're also going to get into more of this immigration issue because something is happening in the House that a lot of people don't like. Rich, that's quite a trio of fun in the Democrat Party. Conyers is amazing because, like, all these stories keep coming out. He's running around in his pajamas, boxer shorts, no boxer shorts, hand up, down the skirt. And now it's like John Conyers, the third. What happened to the second? I guess he's the second. So the third is just step right in?
Yeah, so he treated this office as his personal harem. One of the latest allegations is that he was feeling a woman up at church. And now he thinks it's appropriate to hand this seat over to his son. But his great-nephew has something to say about this. He also wants to run for this seat. So I think the one thing this district does not need is anyone else need Conyers as a congressman.
Clay, do you think the Conyers name should continue in perpetuity in this particular district? Like, why should he just be able to name his successor? I mean, What, Democrat, Republican, this is just a travesty that this man is still in office 55 years later, 53 years later.
Well, you're talking about nepotism, and it's just kind of laughable to me when you have Jared Kushner as a senior press advisor. When you
That's relevant.
When you have Ivanka Trump sitting in with meetings when it comes to China. I mean, nepotism
What are you saying? She doesn't have any brain power?
Well, I'm saying
listen to him. The man can't put a sentence
together. If you're
together.
juxtaposing nepotism, you're talking about John Conyers. You should also talk about Donald Trump.
No, we're talking.
That's the pot calling the pot calling the kettle black.
Were you alive in what was it, 1967,
I wasn't.
65?
Listen, I think he should have stepped down.
You weren't alive?
I wasn't. I'm sorry. What can I do? But I think he should have stepped down. But he's just endorsing his son. It'll be up to the people of Michigan to decide, just like they say with Roy Moore, who has this moral higher grounds, up to the folks of Alabama to decide. You know, it's laughable to me when you talk about
if
Democrats.
Roy Moore stepped aside.
Which he should.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Let's say hypothetically he steps aside.
Yeah.
And he said, well, my son, Roy Moore Jr., should run for this seat, and we should move forward.
Sure.
You would be ridiculing him because it's patently ridiculous.
Also,
who cares, Republican, Democrat? It's ridiculous.
What's laughable is the fact that you have the governor of Alabama saying that I believe the women, but I still feel like Roy Moore should be should be in the Senate.
So a key difference here is if Roy Moore loses this race, Republicans are giving up a Senate seat, right?
He won't lose.
John Conyers, there will be a liberal Democrat who will vote exactly the same way. And there's this enormous angst and consternation whether they should ask this guy to go, who treated his office as his personal harem for his personal sexual
and Trump does the same thing. And Trump is president of the United States.
And he's using his office. He's using the White House. He's using the White House right now to chase women.
Well, listen.
The way John
he has
Conyers
12
used
sexual
his
harassed.
office.
He's been accused of sexual harassment by 12 different women. It's the pot calling the kettle black.
So, no, you honestly cannot compare the current allegations against Conyers with what came up in the October last minute in the campaign. Are you comparing both of those?
What I'm saying, Laura, is that corruption is across the board.
Because the people spoke. It was called the election.
Absolutely. People will speak in Michigan when it comes to. Listen, I don't endorse his son, but if he wants to do that, it's up to him. But across the board, corruption is not a Democrat or Republican thing. Chris Christie, Paul Manafort, Mike Flynn. You brought out all those people. It has the Republican Party as well. You have Larry Craig, if you want to go old school, if you will. I mean, it goes across the board.
Craig.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, nobody's remembering
well,
that.
I'm just saying I'm going old school for you.
You know what I find interesting is that the Democrats on so many issues claim that the Republicans are always claiming the moral high ground. And on some things, I'm sure they are.
Absolutely.
However, the Democrats on issue after issue, the environment, they care more than anyone else. The immigration, they care more than anyone else. Women, this is the best. They are pro-women. And Republicans are always apparently waging a war against women. But we have example after example of Democrat lions. I'm talking Ted Kennedy rolling under the table at the La Brasserie restaurant going back to 1987. And you know what people say about him? Our previous guest, I didn't hit him with it, Bill Richardson. He was a mentor.
So are you saying?
Let me finish. He was a mentor, and the man was a giant. There was a huge void left by Ted Kennedy. I'll say there are a lot of people who filled that void.
It's the same thing with Bill Clinton. It's the same thing with Bill Clinton. And it's not just that some Democrats came out, a few, and said, look, you should have resigned 20 years ago. They could have said that 20 years ago. They could have said it last year. And it wasn't until the Clintons were no longer of any political use to them that they began to try to be consistent.
Clinton was impeached. He was impeached for lying.
Democrats opposed it.
He was impeached. Some Democrats did.
They all did.
But to act like there wasn't sexism in the Republican Party is laughable. I can bring up several facts. I can go on and on.
Bill Clinton should never be invited to another Democratic convention again. Hillary Clinton, who enabled him, never should be part of polite company ever again. If you're being consistent.
I hope.
If you're being
hold on a second. If you're being consistent, you know, you were an anti-Trump guy for a very long time. Then you wrote this great article allegedly in political praising Trump. So I think you should be consistent as well.
Yes, you did.
You were against Trump.
I never said that I would oppose everything about Trump, even if I support it.
Okay, these are all good points. I want to make one point, and I know we're way over. This chain migration issue, which we hit with Richardson. Mitch McConnell has moved to the right. Trump has changed Mitch McConnell on this issue of expanding chain migration. Paul Ryan is slow walking it in the House of Representatives. McConnell and Ryan, can they come together on this? And will Ryan get pressure to move, at least on this one issue?
The needle on this issue is moved. And this is something I've given credit to Trump about all along, that he's been right on this and the establishment of the party hasn't. And if they could get a trade for a DACA codification for an end to chain migration or drastically diminishing it, that's a very
Do it
good
every day of the week. You guys, it's great to have you on. It was a family feud in a way, but it was good. I loved it.
In a way.
I loved it. It's great to see you both. And up next, a stunning new example of the press, well, maybe admitting kind of, sort of, it's biased against that guy, the president. Stay with us.